Hello. How you doing? I guess I could get started. Yeah, I'm working on some bookmarks for our local library. So you can see I've done a couple. I like these feathers. They're just, I don't know, they look really nice. So I have quite a few done. I just need to cut them out and mount them on like a black paper, not necessarily construction paper. I'm good. It's very windy out today. It's hard to sleep last night. Well, at least the sun's shining a little bit. Today we're going to talk a little bit about color theory. So I printed out a color wheel instead of making my own. We obviously have our primary that are highlighted. Those are blue, yellow, and red. And I'm showing you this because we're going to want to add some color to our tangles as we go forward. So complementary colors work well, which are colors opposite the color wheel. Look for something that I can point with that's so obviously red and green, blue and orange, yellow and violet are complementary colors, but then you also have like yellow orange, blue violet, yellow green, and red violet. So you have all these wonderful combinations that you could play with that are opposite the color wheel or are complementary colors. You also have, your warm colors and your cool colors. This says cold. I always learned cool. So you could take like a section of colors, so you could choose 3 colors to work with when adding color to your tangles. I lost my train of thought. It just helps you choose the colors for your palette that will work well together. A palette is something that you can draw or paint with. And color is important because it helps artists express emotion, interest, and depth. So I just wanted to do a quick little intro for you there. And we will get started. I have a couple designs for you today, and then I'll show you how we can incorporate color. So we're doing Zentangles, as we've been doing for quite a few weeks now. And it's just the art of drawing structured patterns to create beautiful artwork. It can be very therapeutic and relaxing, which is why I chose it for this time. I'm doing mine in a sketchbook right now because I can keep track of everything that we have done in the past. And then I have a nice little reference of designs when I need to go back to them all in one place. I also have a micron pen. I'm using a number 5 today. It's just the number gets lower, like a 1. It's a very thin point. I have up to an 8, which is a nice point for doing larger areas. But I'm going to go with my 5 today. It's kind of in the middle. Those finer points are good for fine details, adding detail. But today we're going to do what is called Tagh. And this is a fun one, would be good for a filler if you have a large space that you need to fill in. Just very, very simple. So we're going to start off like with a teardrop shape, if you will. I'm not going completely to the edge so you can see it a little bit better. So I'll let you get your, we start off with a border, which is just a way to keep our designs closed in. And sometimes we add strings, so we can add multiple patterns. Strings are, let me find an example. Strings are something like this. I have a string here and a string here. And it let me, break up those sections into 3 different tangles. So we are getting started. Look, that's smeared a little bit. Be careful when you're using these micron pens. Sometimes they do tend to smudge, but they are archival, which means they shouldn't fade, which is nice for the longevity of your artwork. So what we're going to do, we'll start here. We'll go back and forth on each side and add kind of a C shape and backward C shape, if you will. This is a little bit more organic shape today. Kind of reminds me of sea pods, sometimes pin feathers, and sometimes it could be more architectural. It has many faces, which is kind of a fun pattern. So let's continue. So what we can do is we're going to do this. We're going to break this one up into 4. And then maybe the next row I might make a little bit bigger. And it's fun because you can make these bigger and smaller. What I would recommend is kind of keeping them a little uneven, which I didn't really do too well there. Kind of shifting your rows a little bit so they're not all the same. So this is a pretty fun, simple pattern, which is why I think it's a good filler. Let's do, I'm going to go a little bit bigger here. And again, whatever you feel you would like to do is completely up to you. And I'm going to go a little bit bigger once again. Here we go. So if you wanted, you could fill in your whole area, which I think I'll do since I'm kind of there already. And we'll finish off there. So once we have our space filled, the next step for this tangle that you can do, again, like a little raindrop shape, and then you can color it in if you wanted. These ones might just be peeking through a little bit as your rows go back, but you can always fill in this first row with the whole design. I will not fill in the whole thing, but maybe once I get here, And this is why it helps to kind of make sure the rows are a little off center from the row previous, because then you can get that fun pop of a darker color, or maybe you choose to do a color. So that is it. I would go, and add this little fella to every pattern that I did. And you could get the full effect. I'll kind of stop right there. So there you have it. That is Tagh. And again, you could continue and you could fill up that whole area if you'd like. Our next design is Tagh, and you're gonna recognize, I think, this one. This is a variation of another tangle that we did. And what I want to do, let's find a pencil here, sorry. Sometimes I like to give myself guidelines. This one is more like a leaf, plant-like tangle, so I'm going to give myself that little line there just to help. So you're giving yourself these oval, almost oval shape leaves. They don't exactly have to touch, they can. Then maybe when you get to the top, you can just add one big one. We have done something similar before, but this, they want you to add a little circle to the top. So it looks more like that. And once I have that in, I'm just going to go and erase that guideline quick. So that is that one. Now, another thing you could do with this one, I'll start, I'm going to give myself another line again. I feel like guidelines are a good way to go today. What you could do is give yourself a little loop there. I have not quite mastered that yet, so that's another way to do this. You can just give yourself a little loop. That's a little too big, I think, but you could practice this. It seems as though I'm a little better on the left than I am on the right. Maybe if I do it backwards. There you go. I think my loops are just a little too big there, but that's okay. It's just all about practicing it. So there's another variation of that too, if you'd like. And that is, believe it or not, all I have for you today. Just kidding. Those are two designs I have, and if I have some more time, I have a couple more that I could show you. But I wanted to share some watercolor that I used. So I was using warm colors here to give myself a background for my Zentangles. Watercolor paper curved a little bit, so I can try and stretch that out as I go, flatten it back out as I go. Now I measured it, so it's like 5 3/4. A typical tile for Zentangle is about 6x6. So this isn't quite 6x6, but that's okay. This is just what I had laying around, so I am going to practice. So I have this one, and I also did that one. Again, I just was kind of really feeling the warm colors today. I'm gonna cut my excess off here on the other one. But I really like the warm colors, so I just kind of wanted to focus on that. I tend to gravitate more towards cool. So I was pushing myself outside my comfort zone today with this. So if you have a watercolor set, feel free to experiment. And for those of you who have joined me before, I have a sleepy puppy right by me. So this is a cool watercolor set. Comes with like a built-in palette and then 4 spaces, so you can hook it on either side, top or bottom, and you can mix your colors. But I like it. It's just a watercolor brush that you put water in. This screws off and you put water in here, and you push this as you need to release water. I'm not going to use it. I guess I should have done a demo, but I wanted it to be dry for us today. So I actually just selected from this color palette, actually these 4 colors, for this one, but I did jump down here a little bit and use this like a burnt sienna color, like a reddish brown, and mixed it for this section here with some of this like golden yellow. Now this is a koi watercolor set. It's nice and compact, which is really awesome. So you could drop it in a purse, bag, car, glove box, whatever you're doing. But if you experiment in this way, you're able to kind of lay out your patterns or shapes, ahead of time. Or, like this one, I had nothing other than I just liked how it was kind of linear. And I had a lighter orange, darker orange, and then I went back to the lighter orange again. Almost kind of reminded me of fields. So that was kind of my inspiration there. I have no idea what kind of designs I'm going to do on there, but I will experiment and find out later. There's one I wanted to use. Let's see if I can find it. We did this die-on pattern earlier, a couple weeks ago. This is why I date my stuff. So April 28th. Oh boy, we're coming up almost on a month. And I really like how it looks here. So when I was planning this is why I have these circular shapes here. And I know I preach about Zentangles supposed to be kind of spontaneous and therapeutic, and absolutely, it can be. I just had this thought out a little bit too as I was just playing around with my watercolors. I just kind of wanted some circular shapes in there to play with. Now I'm throwing my pencil lines in there, and this is just a great refresher course for us. So I'm going to lay out my lines quickly and easily. And this is a great way to add color to your tangle. Or you could go in and do it after the fact too. Maybe I'll experiment with that some more tomorrow. So I'm just guessing. Hi, Nancy. How are you? I don't think that's going to work. So let's see here. I'm eyeballing. I think I'll just break it into 4. I thought more sections would be better, but we'll take this as almost a half circle. So now that I have that area laid in, I think I'm going to go with my number 8. I do have quite a selection of micron pens. I'm going to use a number 8 there. You can't really see it. I do have a brush one though, which I haven't experimented with. It looks kind of fun. And a graphic one, which is more marker-like and has a thicker tip on it. Maybe I can experiment with it here. So, for the die-on pattern, if you can remember, what we did is we started here and kind of went around each individual section and gave ourselves a U shape or N or curved line, and we're almost creating, I'd like to say, like a little flower of sorts there. So I'm going to go and do another row. If you do not have watercolors, you could use crayons, colored pencil, and you could do something similar. I would recommend, if you're blending colors though, to do the lighter one first and then gradually add the darker color. Otherwise, it'll just be the darker color and you'll struggle to get the color that you want. You can always experiment, you know, on a scrap sheet of paper. Or maybe you experiment in your sketchbook. That way you can keep it. You know, and if you're practicing, do red and yellow or yellow and red and see what color you like better. You know, maybe one version gives you the color that you want. It's always nice to experiment with materials. It's just kind of what I did today. But again, I knew I wanted some circular shapes because I wanted to do this pattern. So as I'm running out of paper here, I'm going to keep my pattern as good as I can, which isn't that great. But it works. So we're going to do this. And I might just finish off here. Even though I'm going a little bit out of my lines, it's quite all right. I use my artistic license here. Meaning if I want to break my boundaries, I can. Okay. So there we have it. And what we did before, we do outline here, starting from the center. And you can do this before. I don't know that there's a set way you have to do a pattern. You might find that one way works better than another for you. Oh, that line wasn't so good. So anywho, I have that tangle there, and I'm going to go and do the same thing here and here. Now, I will be looking for something in the background. Not 100% sure what it is yet, but you know, one good thing comes from practicing them in your sketchbook. I kind of do, you know, like the look of this, so I might, you know, incorporate this pattern and this pattern with what I'm doing now. And I can tell you, I'm going to try pencil too, just to give it a little bit of dimension there, depth. I think I do better the other way. There we go. more fluid if I do it. So I won't keep you too long, but I just want to give you options for doing your tangles or ideas that you can do from home. If you don't have watercolors, maybe you have markers laying around, and you can create watercolors from markers. Amy Roadman is one of our teaching artists. She did a YouTube video on it. You can probably scroll through and find it on our Facebook page as well. But we're doing a Waste Not Wednesday series with her, and she showed us how you can use not watercolors. You can use markers to create watercolors. And the colors are actually much more vibrant. But maybe you have a cheap watercolor set, or if you're running to the store, you know, even like a little, what is it, a 6 or 8 pack, might be Crayola, could really work for this too. Got to be creative with what we have and what we can get. But try and add some color to your tangles and see what happens. I think it'll give it a little more interest. Whoopsie, goofed up there. You'll have that. And if you need to refer to the color wheel, by all means, look it up. I did. It gives you some really nice choices for, you know, color. Like maybe you want to do a red violet and a yellow green. So like lime green and like a magenta is kind of what I'm thinking, what I see. But that could be really cool. Maybe you do these circular spots in a magenta and the background in a green, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. Could be a play on making flowers, because that's kind of what it looks like I'm doing right now. So anyway, just wanted to share options with you today and do a little bit of color theory. We are launching a new video series on Friday with teaching artist Deb Bonnell. She is doing introductions to color theory, which is what led me to today. But anyway, that'll be on Friday via our Facebook page, but our YouTube channel is Sama Art Online, and you can find a whole array of classes there. From Sama Bedford, Sama Ligonier, Sama Altoona, and some of the stuff that our professional teaching artists are doing. So please refer to that and watch, because every watch helps us. Numbers count, so we're using views and that kind of thing to, you know, show our state that this is what we're doing during this time, and, you know, that people are watching and wanting to do these programs. So to help us keep these programs coming, if you can make a donation, hop over to our website, sama-art.org, make a donation. And if you cannot do that, please watch all of our videos and help us keep these programs coming. So have a wonderful day, and I will keep on working on this, and I'll show you what I've got Thursday. We will pick up Thursday at 4 o'clock. I'm down to 2 days a week right now. And if you have any suggestions for any other classes, let me know. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining.